Yo, yo. Yeah, man. All right. I think I figured it out. So we're gonna try this again. My bad on that one, man. I forgot all about how this mic stuff go, but it was something simple, man. I just needed to make one click, and I clicked on the wrong screen share. So we're gonna try this again, man. I'm just gonna get straight to it because I know I had people waiting on me to get it right. So let's just jump right into it. Uh,
Look at my life like it's a movie. Had to look at all the moving parts. So I can really understand what it was. When they say love make you blind. Yeah. I'm introverted. I don't talk to niggas cause I'm constantly serving. I got a trap on top of my bed. I got a murder. Head goes out about the streets wanna murder. This shit come with burdens. The streets wanna murder. Streets wanna murder. I told you that this thing of ours come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. Hate the city red. All the shit I seen replaying in my head. Heard the streets talking, so we called them boys.
all right, so we're gonna skip up
and improve.
my bad. Let's get back a little bit.
Like my niggas said, this tweet is shit. I can't keep the
We'll
peace.
try to get straight
Pop off
to it.
and I want a piece. I'm just on release. I'm in go mode, motherfucker thief. In these streets.
This man, peace and blessings. Y'all ready? Even spending some time on they
has been, utilized.
I'm gonna get
Right.
straight to it, y'all.
So of course, has
a little
been,
bit.
utilized for people in all parts of the world, including Americas, and we don't get no credit for it. So, in studying Americas and understanding particular individual nations and what our capabilities was, that's the whole purpose to bring to your American Guys Part 2. So peace to everybody in the chat room. I ain't gonna say too much because I gotta go first. So
before you go in, man, everybody get your pens and your papers ready. You guys, I want you to get your notebooks, get your phone. Those that's doing your genealogy, want to know more about the family, your ancestors, what they did, cultural inventions and innovations. We're now about to begin today's class and segment and pay-per-view. So make sure you get your note.
Yeah, man. So this was a lecture we did about a couple of years ago, and it's American Guys Part 2. It was a pay-per-view that we did that I'm reviewing. Like I said, we probably just gonna go over the first part since I already screwed up the first live. But regardless, I ain't gonna hold y'all long. We just probably gonna look at the first part of each one. Mine's A1 and APs, and we just gonna build and rock with it, man. So we just introducing right now, man, letting everybody know what we about to do, what's taking place. Of course, for those who do got time, want to take notes because it's a heavy build, it's high level. We really went in and gave this a lot, and it was well worth it, man. So let's get it.
Books out. We're gonna do a quick little commercial break before we get in, and let's go.
And we are not Africans. We are not African. Are you an African, baby? I'm not no African. Nigga, you a lying motherfucker. Nigga talking about we African. You African, nigga. I ain't African.
So yeah, man, let's get it, man. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, that's my cue. All right, let's do it. Just let me know whenever my mic breaking up or if I'm having any technical issues, bro.
I got you. Know I will.
All right.
Word, man. Some power bill. Power bill.
With that being said, we got American Guys Part 2. American Aborigines, Impact on Technology. Right? So we already understand what these people present to us
when it comes to the Americas, right? You know, most of the mainstream history tells you that indigenous cultures was primitive at the time of contact, right? So according to, you know, what these people, you know, what they tell the people or tell the world, and how they put us in history, you know, a lot of people believe that indigenous people is that they were primitive culture living in primitive conditions at the time of the arrival of Christopher Columbus, right? So the dictionary defines primitive as being early age, crude, simple, little evolved, unsophisticated, or produced by a people or culture that is non-industrial, often non-literal and tribal. These definitions of primitive suggest that the indigenous people lived in undeveloped, simple, and unsophisticated societies at the time of Christopher Columbus, right? His arrival to America. So keep that in mind, right? So we all had our particular areas that we picked out. So I chose to pick out the northeast, right? So in the northeast, we dealing with a lot of different tribes, and well, all of these people are interconnected. So never think that it's like it's no different from you living in St. Louis and somebody living in Chicago. Okay, yeah, you're doing what you're doing in St. Louis, but the people in Chicago is pretty much doing the same shit. You know what I'm saying? And elsewhere throughout America. So even when you see these nations, you know, remember what I just read about the primitive outlook on it. You know, this whole series of American Gods and American Indian Encyclopedia, as well as other bills, is pretty much to let you know what we was doing here in America. The same way Pan-Africans tell you all the great cultures and or what we thought was great cultures until we start looking over here. You understand? Well, we thought all of that was great cultures. Now they're at the point in time where only thing they could talk about is their spirituality systems.
And that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? We actually read the whole encyclopedia for those who don't know. You know, those that are new. Everybody that's pretty much been around, they pretty much caught all the American Indian Encyclopedia builds. I got a playlist on my channel, so whenever y'all want to check that out, just go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? And that way you get caught up a lot quicker on how we came to the research that we got. Not only that, other builds that we got together throughout A1 channel, APs, mine, Chief Holidays, there's some more channels out there too, man. Truth. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of channels that you got heavyweight bills on that pretty much sum up a lot of information that's still confusing out here. So let's just keep rocking, man.
That's it, because nothing interesting over there for any of us to be looking at. We supposed to be looking at over here, the Amaru, right? So with that, I got the northeast section, right? So I'm just gonna say a couple of the tribes that's in it, right? So we got the Chippewa, we got the Algonquin, right? But understand, even with the Algonquin, you know, the Algonquin is actually all of this shit. The Micmacs all the way down to the Powhatans, and all of this would be really according to what they tell us. Some people don't believe in the term Algonquin, okay? But as far as I can research, like they throw the propaganda in there to make you not interested in looking at it, saying, "Oh, white people created it," or "This shit never existed." All of the different plays that they run on us for us not to pay attention to something. So, you know, they had like they create these realities in your mind for you not to really even be able to extract that culture. Even if the name is not real, that culture is real. So you gotta extract that information from that culture and apply it and see whether or not your tribes was included in some of these activities or with some of these things that these other tribes was included with it. So with that being said, so we got the Algonquin, we got the Micmac. Um
Word. And this is the northeast region. The northeast regions. You know what I'm saying? So just to make it clear on where we at, A1 handled most of that part. So
we got the Ottawa, we got the Pennacook, we got the Nipmuc, the Pequot, the Mohegan, the Mohawk, um, the Aganaga, right? We got the Montauk, Manhattan, Lenni Lenape, the Sakwahanak, the Nanachoke, the Chickahomie, the Ramahanak, the Powhatan. We got the Sakatan, the Tuscarora, the Shawnee, the Illinois, the Wee, the Miami, the Kickapoo, the Mingo, the Erie, the Tobacco, Haran, Ottawa, Winnebago. We got Fox. We got the Masakagi, and we got the Power. We got the Powhatan. I believe that's how it's pronounced, right? All right. So, like I said, this is another, and I kind of stretched it out to where it kind of looked kind of crazy. But if you look in there, you could pretty much see some of the tribes. Like this right here, over here, would be like Massachusetts. You see New Jersey right here. So a lot of this would be like New York over here in this area, and then coming down to New Jersey right here. Actually, this is also Pennsylvania on this side, right? And because all right, so look, let's look at this map. This is a little bit so. Even when you see all them tribes going all up in, all this was at one point in time connected. Massachusetts, Maine, all the way up into Canada. All this shit was connected, as well as all of this on the end, all the way up to the Mississippi River. So when you do see these maps, like you got the Muskogee, you got all the way down here, that's pretty much on the Gullah coast, which would be South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, etc. Right? And then you see you got the Iroquois, you got the Cherokee, you got the Tuscarora, you got the Shawnee, you got the Algonquin coming across, right? But then we also seen Algonquin up here too. So like a lot of these maps, like we don't know the influence, because like you can have influence over all this land, and the influence will exceed these demarcation lines. Okay. But anyway, this is just an example, right? So, went through this. These are the states now that, a lot of this area, which is the Northeast, in which, some of the names were changed, or some of the names were manipulated, like like Massachusetts. No, or Connecticut, because Connecticut is actually pronounced with a Q, right? All right, so I'm gonna show you a couple of different tribes from some of some of the tribes that I mentioned in the Northeast, and then we're gonna go into some of the technology and political and other industrial things that we was involved in, right? All right, so we'll go ahead first. This is Edamana Lewis, and she's a Chippewa Aborigine, right? You look up, she was a sculptor, a painter, and she was actually a very intelligent lady, right? And so she would be an Aborigine that I've seen that she is Chippewa, right? And you're looking at her, you can tell she's a Negro, right? So I also mentioned the Micmac, right? So this image is from a basket weaving. No, actually it's called Black Nova Scotian basket weavers, right?
and like he said, you know what I'm saying? In Nova Scotia, now they look like somebody grandma or somebody auntie. You feel me? I mean, what we doing right now? You see what I'm saying? The key is, of course, acknowledging the fact that it was people already here who are like and do look like and related to us. All right, let's keep it rolling.
And we know that when you really go into Nova Scotia, you get that Micmac culture, which came from the area that was in Mass. No, I'm sorry, it was in Maryland, the Maryland, Virginia area, North Carolina area, or whatever, because we find the hieroglyphics within a lot of different areas in Virginia, right? Which they're saying that descend from these people right here that moved up to Nova Scotia eventually, right? But these are, showing you that these are Negroes, aka the Micmacs in that area in the Northeast, right? Some further images of some of her family, and these are all Micmacs. And like I said, I'm just saying Micmac because that's the name that they call them. I know that that's not the original name of these people or whatever, but just for the sake of understanding, you can go back and research and find out that that name that these people name wasn't, that they would probably been the Pomokis or the Powhatans or any one of them so-called nations that was within that area, right? And somehow that this name was applied to them, but that's a whole nother story, right? So these just some images of some of the people or Aboriginals who was living in that area, right? So then we go down, we go to the Algonquin. Hey, can y'all see this? AP. Mike check.
Yeah, I can see it. You can just zoom in on it a little bit, but it's good. It's good. We can see it.
All right. So y'all have seen this picture before, right? But this is New England annual powwow of the Algonquin Indians. And this is dated October 14th, 1915, right? So these are the Algonquins, all right? So we know that we see the chief in the back. We have seen these images, you know what I'm saying? And 90 something percent of the people in this picture is Negroes. Yeah, we do see some people who don't look like they directly Negroes, but that don't mean that they don't descend from Negroes, right? The sister on the side, I believe she passed at I think she was over 105 years old. Um, and like I said, these are the Algonquin. These are the image of the Algonquin Indians, right? But remember, the Algonquin Indians would still be the Wapanaki, right? The Pequot, the Nassau-Garrett. You know what I'm saying? They would still be Algonquin because some of the images of the like this chief right here, he's Namisko. Hassanamisko. Hassanamisko.
You know what I'm saying? You already know, you know, trying to get the name right. But yeah, the key to this is basically just giving you a clear overstanding that, you know, we really don't have to classify as black. Um, there is no classification for that really by law. It's really just a label. So when you get down, you know, to the root of it, you want to always use your roots, and it don't necessarily have to be a name of the tribe. It can be close mountains or a river that you subscribe to, as far as locating or describing who you are as a person related to the land. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, you can definitely go by your surname, which is known as your last name, because of course your name gonna tell it all as far as who you are connecting to and being able to attach it to a land. So, you know, it just depends on what route you want to take. It's your right, you know. Uh the way to be free and govern self is up to you. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how you want to go by it. You know what I'm saying? If you do want to go by black, then you know, choice is yours. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be mindful that it's really not acknowledged or honored by anybody that has I guess you could say value and substance, assets, key ownership in life. You can be a black owner. There are black owners, you know what I'm saying? But as far as, really substantiating who you are as a person, um, you can't just leave yourself as black if you want to really present yourself to the world wholeheartedly, representing your family and where you from, because people from the islands can say they black, you know, people from Canada can say they black. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very generic term. Even people in the UK or over there in Europe classify as black. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very broad generic term. It doesn't really define who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, choice is yours. Choice is yours, yo.
Is part of the Pequots or the Nasser Garrett, but they also he's Algonquin. That's the chief that you see in the back, right? And I'm just showing you just to represent the area, and just extract some of the images of the Aboriginals that's there now, that's recognized as these particular or that descend from these particular tribes or nations, if you will, right? Another image, right here. See the Negroes? We already know. So in all these areas in the Northeast, all of them tribes was original Negroes, or what we consider to be Negroes, or melanated copper colored people who look like us today. All right, so let's continue. Let me see. I picked this picture because I thought it was kind of fun. You know, they got a picture, they got an actual book where they show the Wapanaki, right? And these are you know they Negroes. You know what I'm saying? And you go, I could have went to the actual page and extracted some of the images from there, but I like this picture right here. It say, what did the Wapanaki kids do? Right? Now, anywhere else on the planet, if these kids go somewhere, they Negroes. Like, you're not even going to ask no questions and say, well, they're already people automatically going to assume, even if they say they Indians, they still going to say they Negroes, right? So then we got the Pequots, right? I've seen this picture before. You know, we already see everybody in here. We see. I don't know, this European right here. She might be married to one of these individuals in the background, but we know, or she might have had a black father. You know what I'm saying? Who knows, or whatever. But that's one out of however many Negroes you see in this actual picture, right? So like I said, once again, right, the reason I'm showing you the different tribes in the area that I'm representing is to show you that these are Negroes, all in all of these different places, even the Chippewas all the way up by Detroit, all the way up by Canada. So you see the different areas and you see the different people who still are recognizing themselves to be descendants from them original people who was responsible for these certain nations, or building these certain nations, right? So let's continue. So we got the Montauk's, right? They're in New York. So we working our way down. We coming down the northeast corridor, right, into New York. So we got the Montauk's. Now you can sit there and you can question, some of the images of some of the people, but I know that a lot of these people in here was classified as Negroes as well, right? So let's continue. So then we got the Shinnecocks, right? Once again, you see melanated people or melanated Aboriginals, right, who look just like someone or most of our family, right, or look just like somebody you see in the urban community, or wherever you see a melanated Aboriginal at. right? This is another image. Let me hide this real quick. It's another image right here, and this is 1964. I don't know how the fuck this shit came up here, but excuse me for having this shit right here on the top. I don't know. Maybe I didn't edit it properly, but anywho, as we moving forward, right? So I think her name is Margaret Kellis. It's saying one of the oldest of the Shinnecock, and the Shinnecock Indian Reservation in Southampton, Long Island. September, I guess it's a powwow, September 5th, 6th, and 7th, 1964. Now, if this lady don't look like one of your grandmothers or, you know, your aunts or
That's a
somebody
fact.
in your family, and she doing a basket weaving that we seen a Micmac doing too, right? Keep that in mind, right? She's doing the Micmac. So that basket weaving, that shit, like, you know, most of the Africans say, oh, that basket weaving came from Africa, right? Into South Carolina. That's the reason you see the Gala or the Gitche people doing the basket weaving. But no, that was a tradition that a lot of people did them basket weaving. You know what I'm saying? A lot of different nations. Every nation had somebody or someone in their nation that specialized in making them baskets.
That's a fact.
So once again, it's Long Island, New York, right? Southampton, the Hamptons, you know, where everybody talk about going, right? So that's the Shinnecock. These some more Shinnecocks right here. We ain't got to question whatever their ethnicity is or race. We already assume according to how the Europeans then set it up or whatever. Like we know what a Negro is, right? We don't need no DNA test to find out whether or not these is black people, right? So we're gonna move further down the northeast corridor and we're gonna go into the Lenapes, right? So these are Lenny Lenape women right here, right? As once again, you can see beautiful women, just like somebody you got in your family. Now you'll see a lot of the white people in the back trying to hijack and claim that they 1/32nd or some ridiculous ratio of Aboriginal blood or Aboriginal ancestry. But anyway, we know that we see the real Aborigines still represented, right? So that's the Lenny Lenape one, right?
And you know what I'm saying? Just to add on, of course, you know, um, I ain't gonna say every last one of them want to claim the heritage or the culture, but they definitely like to observe, you know. Um, so it's kind of normal to see, especially at you know, they call them powwows as far as trying to uphold, you know, the indigenous ways as far as doing ceremonies and stuff like that. And they kind of blended with the Siberian style or the Alaskan native style ceremonies and culture. But uh, this is no different from family reunions as well. You know, of course, down in the South, um, a lot of our people do recognize their traditional titles as far as being Catawba or Okanichi, Geechee, you know, um, Tuscaroran. You know what I'm saying? You do got people that still identify with they uh, indigenous titles. So it's not really nothing new down here. But for most of what I know we do down south here in South Carolina, you'll hear more so of like family reunions. And you'll see people gather around more so at the lake or meet at certain coastlines as far as beaches and bay areas that we got. Other than that, of course, you'll get people that like to meet at the churches and stuff like that. And they don't take away from the church. The church at one time was the schools and a way for our people to govern ourselves with our traditions and what we believed in. Of course, by Spanish invasion and other foreign uh, invasions, and pretty much manipulated the routines and a lot of the land that we had through the churches. But what A1 showing right now, this picture I know is definitely at a powwow. Yeah, it's definitely at a powwow.
So some more Lenny Lenape brothers right here. As you know, you ain't got to question him. Oh, he look like he's a mongoloid or something. Nah, everybody got somebody that look like that in their family. You know what I'm saying? Them brothers right there, right? Now I couldn't find no picture of the Powhatan, but I got the statue from the Virginia Historical Society representing the Powhatans. Since they went through the trouble to put them in there and call them King Powhatan, I might as well let them represent the Powhatan.
And that's right. You see what I'm saying? Like, you gotta think about it. Okay, for one, who would make a statue like this? Two, who would want it? Three, who would take the time out to move it from where it belonged to put it in a museum for people to, to recognize? This is something we got to take it special. Look at the image. Okay, you don't usually see this publicized on TV or nothing like that. That's why people say go see for yourself or go travel or do the actual research, man. It ain't nothing now to Google or type something in online, long as you know how to ask it right. Sometimes you just got to know how to ask the question right. It might be one or two little words you might need to add in there to define exactly what you want to find, you know, on these websites and stuff like that. So, um, I mean, we got to take pride in this, man, as far as knowing that we really are held up high. I mean, you just got to just look at the world alone, man. I mean, like I say, look at the Olympic teams. You know, the track team, basketball team. You know what I'm saying? It's mostly our family members who out here winning this gold, who the champions of the world, man. I mean, it really ain't nothing else to explain about it, you know?
Right. So, boom, got my peoples right here, Tasha C, because she is a Pamunkey Aboriginal. So she representing the Pamukis, right? So we gonna go through. Let's go to another area, right? And go right here to the Tuscaroras Aborigines, right? But check this. I got a little quick video on rock real quick.
Or y'all know how A1 get it in. Come with the down pat. You know what I'm saying? Man, like a book himself when it comes to the info on the real though. Salute to the bro, man.
Tongue stumbles over it yet.
Was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and as tall as a mountain. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. He was brave, he was fearless, and as tough as a mighty oak tree. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Lang to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the rippin'est, roaring'est, fighting'est man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man.
Y'all peep that though? You talking about he's a big man, but then all of a sudden you got a guy coming beside him just as big. I mean, maybe that's the real Daniel Boone. Who knows, you know?
You're a long ways from home, Boone. Not too far, old chief of the Tuscarora. You know my name. Use it. Which one? Gabriel Cooper or Thundercloud? Become a legend among two nations. Tuscarora are my people.
Nigga said his name Gabriel Cooper. Run that back one time.
Yet your tongue stumbles over it yet. Not too far, old chief of the Tuscarora. You know my name. Use it. Which one? Gabriel Cooper or Thundercloud? Become a legend among two nations. Tuscarora are my people, and I have but one name, Kanawatchakwa. Yet your tongue stumbles over it yet. Is that what you came to tell me? No, I came to ask you to guide me through Tuscarora country. Great Daniel Boone needs a guide. How far do you expect to get? With your help, to Vincennes. You're asking me to do that? I figured a part of you was still Gabe Cooper. Maybe the best part. The part that hold and planted for a smile? Part that ran behind a mule and teased gravel to turn green. And when it came sundown, bowing to some white man who'd soon scrape boot mud off my jaw if I was handy. Is that the part?
Damn.
I'm talking about the part that ached to get free. And did. I won that for myself, did you? You're wasting your time.
Pause this, man. This some deep shit just by itself, bro. This is talking about an enslaved Aborigine who fought for his freedom and became chief again. Damn, that's deep.
Yeah, that's some pseudo shit, though. See, they always got you thinking that the white man is just some rebel. He can pull up in the Indian country and put water on his head and just pull up around. That shit, Daniel Boone was a Negro too. But that's a whole nother story. I just showed it just as far as the Tuscarora, right, to show it. And actually, Rosie Greer and Pam Greer is my father's family. They related to my father. But the Tuscarora thing, I thought was kind of interesting or whatever. But I'm gonna run it back real quick. Let's get back into it.
If I leave, it'll be with you, Gabe. I didn't take the sermons when I was a slave. And I didn't learn mercy, Boone. And call your braves. They've smelled blood out there. It would be hard. Then give your orders. You helped me get free. I owe you a piece of Gabe Cooper. I need that piece that wants what any man has a right to have.
So I'm gonna stop it right there, though.
At the same time, though, I mean, why is this man's face still wet like this? Like, let's pause on that, yo. Like, yo, wait a minute. What the heck is going on? Yo, your man's face is just soaking wet still. Like, he just gonna let the water just drop on his face, man. Like, this is wild, man. But nah, this was a good clip, though, as far as like showing, you know what I'm saying? People, I mean, he clearly that's a brother, you know what I'm saying? Showing you what the real Aboriginal Indians look like, you know what I'm saying? That's more so what it's about. And of course, it was acknowledged at one time through certain people, certain companies and organizations that didn't mind doing production. You know, of course, a lot of them didn't. A lot of them want to show you the Asian or Alaskan natives that were brought over here, you know, for the land Alaska. So, but that's a whole nother story, man. Let's keep rocking.
But you know, he was actually a real chief if that ever existed, right? But they always make him seem like they're indebted to the white man for some apparent reason. They're indebted to the white man, and the white man can just pull up when he wants. But nonetheless, though, we see another Aboriginal or melanated individual who's taken on a place as being a Tuscarora Indian. So just a little from actually from my brother Hakeem Bey, Moore's Paradigm. This is one of the pages he got on the Tuscaroras, right? So it goes, here's a young Tuscarora sister from the Ramapo Mountains. Vince Morgan from Mawa insists that the old timers used to say that they were descendants from the Tuscarora Indians. Okay, says the author David Cohen's. All right. So he said, have it go, some more, showing you some more descendants of Tuscarora, or what the Tuscarora people look like, right? And I'm gonna kind of go back to the DMV area. Actually, Tuscarora is in the Carolinas, so all of that still is connected. These are just names in different areas in which the people, like, are taking on these terminologies, but they will ultimately be part of a big nation, but that's a whole nother thing. I'm gonna get into that a little later on. But all right, so Ramapo region is a folk artist named Ed Morgan. In 1889, James Mooney, an anthropologist working for the Smithsonian Institute, did research on the Indian culture and survivors, and he came to the conclusion there was undoubtedly considered Indian ancestry among blacks in the southern coastal plain region. Regarding the powerful Powhatan Confederacy, the Chippahomie, the Matapani, the Nasaman, the Natawas, the Pumokis, the Potomac, and the Rappahannock, which held dominion in the regions around Virginia. Thomas Jefferson in 1785 is recorded as saying that the Manatapanese have more Negro than Indian blood in them. You already know. He's saying this is a play on words, because what he referred to as Negro and Indian is one and the same people, as we already know, right? So we going through, so jump right here. They go another Tuscarora sister. She actually looked like my aunt too. That's why I like the picture, right? But anyway, right, the Tuscarora Indians, who are a branch of Cherokee. See, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these different, what people call tribes and shit, they branches of, and all of that shit connect, because you'll find out the Cherokee is a branch of the Creek. You know what I'm saying? So all of them connect to be Muskogee, but that's a whole nother story, right? But anyway, right, just representing the Northeast and doing my part, and my assignment is to do.
And that's key too, though, is even though these names can sound completely different, a lot of it was determining certain regions or certain aspects of the nature, or what the people represented through life. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of these names come about. Other than that, it might either represent what type of art or craftsmanship, you know what I'm saying? Whether they might be medicine people, priest, um, architectures, you know what I'm saying? It depends on the people, and it depends on the area as well. Because some of these people, of course, our people would take the names elsewhere, and it would reside through the names, as far as, by marriage or whatever. But other than that, a lot of these titles do have a meaning behind it, and it's still connected, to the American lands. So
Deal with the Northeast Aborigines, right? The Tuscarora Indian, who are a branch of the Cherokees from North Carolina. European society classify these people as Negroes, colors, or mulatto. They say that they are that they are Aboriginal natives, not brought here from anywhere else. Some now classify them as triracial isolates because they are said to be a mixture of so-called black, red, and white. You already know how that works. But anyway, representing the Tuscarora people, right? Show you different examples of them, right? So I'm gonna get into my particular part, which I'm gonna do the United States Constitution, American Indian influence on it, right? So when you get into it, you be dealing with the Iroquois Constitution. But see, and this is another thing, right? The Iroquois is in the Algonquin area, right? They're in the Algonquin area. They reside right among the Algonquins. But they tell you that the Algonquin and Iroquois, at one point in time, they had a war, and then they branched together, right? Which I think that they are the same people as all of them. They're the same people and had the same nation. And like I said, a lot of these different political um these political movements that we had, it wasn't just in one particular area. It was everywhere, because as I'm gonna get into it, we see that we had trade from certain places, from certain, like all the way up in Canada, all the way through Central and South America and the conjoined islands, right?
And you can take note of that by the railroads. You can take note of that by the railroads, the railroad systems. You know what I'm saying? The way a lot of the old ones are basically coming from, you could say, shoot, really from Alabama and Georgia or Louisiana. I want to say Texas as well. Um, a lot of the old train systems are in them areas. So, and that's something that's slept on as well, man. The train systems, you know what I'm saying? It's something that's, this is ancient stuff, because they got tunnels with train systems in them, and they don't know where they came from or who put them there. So, you know what I mean? Let's take recognition, y'all. Let's stay up on it.
But let's get into it, right? So, all right. So the U.S. Constitution, the American influence, Indian influence on it, and this is 1787 AD. North American Northeast culture, the U.S. Constitution, a document that outlines the organization of three branches of government, define the power of the government in relations to that of the individual state. It was framed in 1787 and adopted in 1789. One of the most significant influence on this document was the Iroquois Constitution, also called the Great Law of Peace. The Great Law of Peace was created by the Iroquois to stop neighboring tribes from fighting. The discovery recorded on the wampum belts formed a confederacy among the Iroquois tribes, the Onondaga, the Mohawk, the Kagaka, the Onondaga, and the Seneca, and later the Tuscarora. Right? Excuse me. The Iroquois placed its creation between 1000 and 14 AD, right? So contemporary historians date the document at 1450 AD. It was conceived by the Daga Wada, a man believed to be a non-Iroquois ancestry who traveled the southern shores of Lake Erie and Ontario, as well as up to St. Lawrence River, with a Mohawk chief, Hawata, right? Hawata, in an attempt to bring peace to the warring tribes in the area. Hawata served as the Daga Wanda spokesperson. Colonial leaders became aware of the Iroquois Constitution during the French and Indian War from a treaty and the council meeting they attended with the Iroquois tribes that they had allied themselves with the British colonists rather than the French. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is some pseudo shit too. Like we wasn't allying with, we ain't had to ally with nobody. We was the shit, and when nobody just pulling up. So that's just. Remember, this is just a narrative that they plan. But anytime I don't agree with something, I'm always going to give you my perspective from factual information that I've been able to obtain and I've been able to go over, right? But anyway, just pointing that out, right? So let's get into some more of it. All right, so it said many scholars believe that the Great Law was the longest international constitution until that time. The only possible exception to this was the unwritten English Constitution, which had its origins in the English Magna Carta. Certainly in the 15th century Europe, nothing existed to this rival American Indian Constitution. In January 1744, at a meeting between Indians and British in Pennsylvania on the Onondaga, the chief Kanasatago aired a concern to his people had about the colonial system of the government. He complained that it was virtually impossible for the Iroquois Confederacy to deal with other colonies. Each one had its own policy, administration, and way of doing things. He encouraged the colonies to form their own union, which would be stronger than the existing Confederacy. He suggested that the colonists who drafted the document use the Constitution of the Iroquois as an example. All right, so that's what they saying. But anyway, I need some additional sources at the bottom right here, but I got some more on this. I'm actually gonna go through a little bit more, so I'm probably gonna be rocking out probably about 5 more minutes. All right, so in the book, The Indian Giver, it said how the Indians of America transformed the world. Okay, and he throw a lot of hits in there. Like I said, transform the world to gods. That's the God shit right there, right? But let's go through some of this. All right, I'm gonna read. I think this one was first because I got them in different orders. Or was it this one? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, just give me 1 second, people. I'm trying to find exactly what part it was at.
Where he about to show how they basically used the Iroquois Confederacy.
No, that wasn't it. It was this part right here.
How he
All right,
used our
so
laws and
it
stuff.
says Washington,
Yeah,
D.C. have never recognized the role of the Indians in the writing of the U.S. Constitution or in the creation of the political institution that seems ununiquely American, but an inadvertent memorial does exist. An older woman from Israel pointed this out to me one spring day as I cut along the lawn of the United States Capitol, where I then spoke for Senator John Glenn. She stopped me and in a husky voice asked me who was the Indian woman at top of the Capitol dome, suddenly looking at it through her eyes. I too saw the figure as an Indian, even though I knew that it was not. Ivory go. That's just some extra shit right there. But nonetheless, though, these people have never recognized it. Have never recognized, exactly what the Aborigines had, right? Now check this out, right? It say that although the Iroquois recognize no supreme leader in their system allegors to the President of the United States, the framer of the Constitution deliberately and inadvertently imitated the Great Council in establishing the electoral college system to select a president. Each state legislation selected a group of electors equal in numbers to the state combined the total of senators and representatives, like the Sachems. Each elector had one vote in the electoral college. In the 2 centuries since the Constitution went into effect, some aspects of the system has changed, the voters, whatever, but nonetheless, though, they saying that they extract the whole system that you've seen from these nations that was already in America. And they said, look, they said, I'm going to read it one more time, right? Although the Iroquois, and remember, like I said, the Iroquois, they get throwing a lot of shit out there. The Iroquois is also the Algonquin. Okay, so understand that, right? Or whatever term you want to call an Algonquin, because some people can argue that point that the Algonquin is some fake shit or whatever. No, the name might be fake, but the culture and what them people did is not fake. That's our culture. So you go, oh, you want to take the name? Cool, take the name. Give me the correct name. All right, I'm going to apply that to it. We keeping the culture. That's it. We're not throwing it off like it's a myth or some mystery and saying, all right, well, the name fake, so the people got to be fake. No, the things that the people did is actually and reflect to the science and technology that we was able to have, as I'm reading right here. Although the Iroquois recognized,
and that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? You got to take recognition of, you know, these people will try to deny, even our own people will try to deny the fact that we already had plenty of activities, places, you know, world fairs to civic centers, you know what I'm saying? Arenas. We talking, I mean, man, we was playing hockey. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real about this. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real about this. This is some old ancient stuff that's new to people who not from here. But for our people, as you see, I think in the first American Gods, I think it got lost or something, man. We having a hard time finding it. I gotta get with AP on that and see if we can somehow get that one back, or maybe if A1 got it. But other than that, I think he went over a whole list of inventions that our people were known, from like the helicopter to, you know, of course, the red light and washing machines, refrigerators, generators. We talking about, man, the list is almost endless of what we don't use today, even cell phones. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we just gotta recognize the fact that, you know, what he's saying is we can't sit up here and let people trick us out the bag, making us think we from somewhere else, and the whole time we right here at home. That's the bottom line.
no supreme leader in their system allegorious to the president of the United States. The farmer of the Constitution deliberately and inadvertently imitated the Great Council in establishing. So they imitated the Great Council, some shit that they seen here, in establishing electoral college system. So the electoral college system is extracted from the Great Council. Okay. The selection of a president. Each state legislation selected a group of electors equal in number to that state combined total of senators and representatives, like sachems. Why would they throw that? Like sachems. Okay, all right, so you copied it. A sachem ain't nothing but a king or a chief, right? Or sagamore, etc., right? Each elector then had one vote in the electoral college. So think about this. So even when they telling you they copied it. No, you didn't copy. You took the shit and just changed it. And not even did the remix single. At some points, like the Constitution is directly some shit that we had. They just kind of reworded some things and changed some other things, but it's exactly abstract. Just like all of the other inventions and the stuff that these brothers going to be going through with me, myself. You're going to see that the world uses the inventions of the American Indians, or like, you know, like he said, the impact of the American, what he said, Indian, the Indian giver, saying how the American, and I'm only saying Indian. I know Indian to me mean Nino Indian. I'm talking about the Autochthonous. I'm talking about the Aborigines. I'm talking about the gods and goddesses of the Amaru. That's what I'm talking about. You want to use Indian, fine with me. You know what I'm saying? But in reference to what he assumed these people to be, I assume them to be the Autochthons. But anyway, how the Indians of the Americas transformed the world. Transform the world. How you still transforming the world. You got motherfuckers from third world countries coming over here wearing 2 earrings, they're just doing everything they see Negroes doing. You're an unofficial Negro. You know what I'm saying? In other words. But let me run through this so I can get done with this, right? Let's continue. Let me see. I'm sorry, just give me 1 second, people. I'm looking for something in particular. I think it might be this one.
But word though, you know what I'm saying? We are the most influential people in might be the galaxy for all we know. You know what I'm saying? We naturally, you know, got rhythm. We naturally, most of us can cook. You know what I'm saying? Naturally just, you know, have some type of speed or power or some type of uniqueness with all of us. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not taking away from any other ethnicity or nothing like that, man. Everybody got somebody special, you know, that really stand out no matter what. You know, we all in each ethnicity, whether you Asian, you know what I'm saying, European, us, Americans, real Americans, it don't matter. Like everybody, we all got unique people now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna take away from that. But when it come down to it, you know what I'm saying, as a people that always seem to be able to have a, you know, a certain type of sound, whether it's singing, rapping, you know, making beats, you know what I'm saying, fashion, the way we put our clothes together, the color coordination, you know what I mean? Like the list is just, I mean, we really help this thing vibrate at a higher level, man. You know what I'm saying? We really like this. We light this place up. You know what I'm saying? The earth realm brought the real gods in America, the Negro man and woman and the children. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, not taking away from any other ethnicities, man. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got gods too. Y'all got gods too. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the fact that we've been put down and a lot of exploiting and bad representation is being put out here on our people, man. So we got to show the greatness and show what we represent and what we really stand for. There's still people out here to this day that's still holding it down. You know what I'm saying? On the private side. On the private side.
That's not it. You know what? I'm not even gonna go on that part. I'm gonna stop it right here. All right, so I'm gonna stop that part of my presentation right there. I think next up the bat is my brother Jag. Jag, you ready?
Word, man. Our old man, go and get ready. Before you get ready, man, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hopefully y'all got your mics ready. I mean, y'all pens and pads ready. A1 just dropped some heat, man. And we're gonna bounce around, and after we all done giving our particular presentation, we'll probably do a back and forth and kind of piggyback around. But while we do that, we'll be right back in 30 seconds, you guys. We'll be right back. All right.
We did like little 30-second, intermissions and stuff like that. So just bear with it. But I'm up next. You know what I'm saying? We, like I say, just American Guys Part 2. I appreciate everybody for coming in, man. If you would give me a like, share the video to those who really do care and want to know more about our history and more who we are as a people. It's not necessarily forcing the issue. It's just bringing awareness that we do have a proper recognition and we are actually a nation of people. And we just gotta stand on our thrones, stand in our squares properly, and really just get with the right people and make this thing happen all the way. There's some stuff happening. If y'all really noticing, people are making some changes around here as far as recognizing the people's rights. If you really know your rights and understand how to read all this legalese and nonsense the way they type it up and speak out here to the public, but it's a lot of stuff coming into effect, man. So just keep building wealth up, keep involving yourself, stay healthy, stay active, and you know what I mean? Let's keep it rolling.
See, my life has been in motion. I'm a little windy. I'm not giving up yet. If you with me, time to place up your bet. Ain't no turning back. Got niggas who ran. When we caught his ass, got caught in that jam. Yeah, you know who I am. Yeah, you know who I am. I can feel it coming. God, bro.
Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Shout out to my brother Jaguar Omac, man. Locked and loaded in the building, man. Let's get it in, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the building, man. We locked and loaded, man. Let's get it, man. Got my brother screen up. Jack, you got the flow, bro.
Word, man. Salute, man. Like I say, man, much honor to everybody, man. Please take notes because I'm going to get into more of the cultural side and a side that most people don't usually hit into, which is the medical field. I will be starting off with surgery. So before I do that, I do want to give everybody a rundown back of what culture is. You see what I'm saying? Culture, the arts, beliefs, customs, institutions, and other products of human work and thought considered as a unit, especially with regard to a particular time or social group. All right. These arts, beliefs, and other products considered with respect to a particular subject or mode of expression. All right. Number 3, the set of predominating attitudes and behavior that characterize a group or organization. All right. And this is 3 great definitions of culture that I thought we all should maybe hear to know what we really are representing and what we really are sharing more of right now with American Guys Part 2. So with that being said, I want to get into right off the top, surgery. Surgery itself is known in the Northeast area, particularly plastic surgery, if I must add. Shout out to A1 for just breaking that down. I wanted to really key in on this first because we have to understand that, we're dealing with an advanced mindset, an advanced way of, acknowledging and analyzing and to be able to diagnose what needs to be done to the body, inside and out is a major teaching and learning honor. You see what I'm saying? Our people were performing this as they showing, according to the American Indian Encyclopedia, at least 3,000 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Due to the dates, we all know by calculation, who knows when by absolute, but we can say we can start at least 3,000 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And this is something that was being performed South American, North American, and Mesoamerican. That is the whole Americas, pretty much. You see what I'm saying? So let's break it down a little bit. Surgery is the division of medicine that uses instruments and invasive techniques to treat illness, injury, and deformity. The practice of surgery had a long history in the Americas before the arrival of the Europeans. American Indian surgery was more sophisticated than that performed by the barber surgeons of Europe at the time of contact. Although the Greeks and Romans had practiced surgery in medieval times, knowledge of their techniques was suppressed. Islamic physicians living in Spain had practiced surgery, and one of them, Al-Vukasis, even wrote a surgical text. However, they were expelled from Spain and their discoveries ignored. So clearly we have right here a sector, showing that before any of these people came, Europeans, Greeks, Romans, Islamic, which would be your Middle Eastern over there, had no real knowledge of how to perform surgery. You see what I'm saying? They even ignored an actual text by who claimed themselves to be a surgeon. So, however, like they say, they were expelled from Spain and their discoveries ignored. By the end of the Middle Ages, the most complicated documented operations that European surgeons performed were a limited number of cesarean sections. All right, so we know what that is, man. Shout out to the mothers, who even had to go through anything like that, having those type of complications to perform that. All right, it says see also obstetrics. All right, which is the studying or the actual crew that actually handles the birth, when it's complications and you have to perform certain surgical procedures, like I say, and the removal of diseased breast. All right, this is something serious, at least 3,000 years ago. All right. In contrast, indigenous surgeons in South America, Mesoamerica, and North America were executing delicate and complex operations and using anesthetics. All right, so we know what that is. That's to basically use, for numbing. I think you could give clarity to that to the Northeast as well. Them performing surgery, having to use anesthetics because you need that to numb the area that you may be performing on. You see what I'm saying? In case you don't have to put someone to sleep or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Putting someone to sleep is a form of numbing also, So, we doing this 3,000 years ago, though, people. But let's continue. It says, and antibiotic medications. All right. So we know what that is. That's flushing out any, disease, viral infections, or whatever, two practices that were not used in Europe at the time. All right. So once again, these people had no clue of anything about anesthetics or antibiotics. All right. They also practiced asepsis. All right. Creating what is known today as sterile field for surgeries. All right. For those who really want to know what asepsis is, that is I had it written down in my notes exactly, man, to give y'all the real drop. It's really surgical removal of microorganisms. All right. Once again, asepsis, ASEPSIS, is the removal of microorganisms. I mean, if that ain't I don't know what that is. How long did it take to do that? You see what I'm saying? Creating what is known today as a sterile field for surgeries. All right. So it says the Aztec, whose empire was established in what is now Mexico in about 1100 AD, not only performed cesarean sections, but also removed cataracts from the eyes. All right. So we got people taking out cataracts. How they even knew what a cataract was. You see what I'm saying? And how to remove it. This is some long time studying, people. This is children of the elves, of the angels, the Most High. Come on, man. I mean, ain't nobody. This is serious. It say also as well as performing plastic surgery. All right, American Indians of South America were practicing brain surgery. See also trephination. All right, for those who want to know what trephination is actually the practice of, well, not practice, but the art of for relief of pressure from hematomas, to where you may have to, actually cut a little bit in the skull or around the skull to actually, relieve blood flow and stuff like that. And says also accessing brain tumors. So sometimes they actually use this technique to remove brain tumors, all right, without infecting and without killing somebody. You see what I'm saying? This is some very, very hard, very prestige professional work here.
Yeah, man. And like I say, um it's just giving you the key points and areas that's been documented and that's been, pretty much verified through traditional stories or by recognition of certain letters and art that people left behind, or that's on murals, or uh certain tools that are found as far as artifacts and stuff like that are known uh to be items that represent surgery. You see what I'm saying? It's just something to take. We gotta really be proud of this, man. Like, to go from walking around just barely almost naked, you know what I'm saying? Almost naked, walking around hunting and fishing with spears or whatever, to, man, you out here performing surgery 3,000 years ago. Come on, man. This is something that's not being talked about.
All right, trephination, people. You know what I'm saying? It's also they were using with either drilling type, instruments, or scraping instruments like the obsidian blade. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, let's take a look at some of this stuff real quick, man, before I keep y'all, bored too long. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at some of this, man. Obsidian blades. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are we talking about, people? Who knew that obsidian stone would be great to perform surgery with, and to actually get it, chiseled to the point where it's thin enough to cut precisely in areas that it need to be cut in. You see what I'm saying? Ancient obsidian blades, man. What are we talking about here, man? This is highly advanced technique that people were using, all over the Americas by 2,000, 2,500 years ago. You see what I'm saying? What you got here? This is the hemostats. This is some of the utensils that we're gonna definitely hear about. They kind of like the forceps, except they made to actually get around small blood vessels, that are ruptured. And these all these instruments are pre-contact. We'll get into that a little later. Antispasmodic cures to the plants, the natural remedies that control seizures, help gallbladder infections, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You got your skull caps. All right. You got your night grass. You see what I'm saying? There's plenty of therapeutic plant life that you can look up that helps with seizures or gallbladder or whatever type antispasmodic situation you may need it for, convulsions, stuff like that, man. You know what I'm saying? perennials and stuff like that, marigolds and clovers. You see, you know what I'm saying? Let's get back to the read a little bit. Yeah, so it say they were practicing brain surgery in at least 1,000 BC, which is 3,000 years ago. All right. Says some archaeologists believe the Olmec, whose culture arose in America about 3,700 years ago, were successfully performing surgery long before that date. Okay. That's why you gotta, this is at least, man, with these dates. You shouldn't take nothing literal. I don't know why people have a hard time just like accepting the fact that, when you're looking at actual culture and things that was going on, I mean, you can't pinpoint an actual day. You know what I'm saying? We're not even using the same measurement of days and hours or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be real, man. It says medical anthropologists who have studied human remains estimate the survival rates for American Indian patients who underwent brain surgery were between 83 and 90%. I mean, that's excellent, man. Give yourselves a hand claps for having an A plus, basically, or A. Nowadays, I don't know how the grade system is, you know what I'm saying? But give yourself a hand clap for performing an A grade job with brain surgery. You see what I'm saying? According to anthropologist H.L. Shapiro, in the late 19th century and early 20th century, only half of the brain surgery patients that non-Indian doctors operated on survived. All right, so they saying only, it was like a 50-50 chance, man. You going somewhere else, getting surgery and stuff like that, especially on that brain, you taking a chance. You need to get over there, up there in America, whether you in the Northeast, down by the islands, by Palenque and the Aztec and all that, or South America, you can choose. It's whatever you close to. Some of the major cities like Huron, or some of the Iroquois areas that we were in, definitely in areas of the Lenni Lenape and the Illinois, they was performing major surgeries. But let's get it. It say North American Indian healers also performed amputations. You see what I'm saying? According to author Gene Wyatt, an amputation at the joint was performed with a knife of flint. Blood vessels were sealed with heated stones, call it cautery, to redness, thus arresting hemorrhage. All right, so let's keep the hemorrhage down. It say, in addition to cauterizing blood vessels, American Indians use herbal hemostats to stop bleeding. That's the instruments that I showed you earlier, man. The hemostats. You know what I'm saying? I'll go back to it real quick. You know what I'm saying? These instruments like this, you know what I'm saying? They look like this, but you see, they was herbal. You know what I'm saying? These are basically like for your thumb and finger to act, for your thumb and finger as extenders. You know what I'm saying? As extenders. All right. Finna get into tourniquets. You know what I'm saying? Those are some of the tourniquets, the kinds that you use to control blood pressure flow. You know what I'm saying? Whether you wrapping it around the head, arm, leg, whatever. You see what I'm saying? This is the type of stuff we was performing and using at least 3,000 years ago. They're not even finna let you say or underestimate the fact that it was happening at least 3,000 years ago and plus. Okay. It said they also understood the value of tourniquets. What I just showed, it said, and astringents, which would be used to help keep the skin tight and, or, help whenever they finish operating or whatever. It says using them for the same purpose. It said throughout the Americas, Indians made scalpels from flint, shirt, or obsidian, like I just showed, all right? It said, which provided a micro sharp edge that minimized bleeding from the incisions they made. All right. It says some cultures also made metal scalpels. All right. It says see flint napping and metallurgy. Shout out to AP, who definitely loves that metallurgy is something started in the Americas, man, up there in the Michigan, Ohio area, man. They also give it to the Toltec as well, that area, man, which is something that I found out be pretty interesting. It says, besides performing amputations, American Indians physicians reduce fractures, breaks, and dislocation of bones, both manually and by surgery. It says, see orthopedic techniques. All right. And that's basically, being able to put a bone back in place and, whether you got to pop it back in place or put some type of leg stent to help support or some type of cast or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It says they also use thoracentesis, carefully puncturing the chest wall to allow fluid buildup to drain. All right, so here we go once again. We see that happening. That's something that's can be done, but you do got to know what you're doing with that as well. You can mess somebody up not doing that right and blood squirting everywhere because punctured a vein or something the wrong way, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They say they were also able to use a hollow needle-like implement to puncture the spleen and drain it of excess fluid. Come on, man. What are we talking about? So they invented these procedures hundreds of years before Western medicine. North American Indians used sutures made of human hair in order to close incisions and wounds. That's basically just like stitches. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm pretty sure, hey, you got some of our wiry type hair to stitch up with somebody, that's gonna lock. It's gonna stay locked. You know what I'm saying? You might have a hard time pulling it out. Say healers of the Amazon basin use surgical staples in the form of leaf cutter ants to secure the edges of an incision or wound while it healed. All right? Says these surgical staples. Like I say, man, once again, we talking about the gods, man. This ain't no, primitive, activity here, people. This is, a lot of us can't do this stuff today. You see what I'm saying? Let alone, what's going on anywhere else. You see what I'm saying? Since despite their surgical discoveries and skills, American Indians uniformly failed to receive mention in medical history books. Yet colonists in North America sought out help from American Indian healers. Frontier doctors, say often the local undertaker, said observed American Indian medical and surgical practices and incorporated some of these techniques into their limited repertoire or of treatment options. It says Spanish conquistadors often preferred to seek treatment from indigenous physicians rather than submit to the knives of their own barber surgeons. See what I'm saying? So it wasn't just everybody wasn't coming over here to bang. Some people come over here to get straight, to get healed up. You know what I'm saying? And to find a woman's touch. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, man. So a lot of that was happening, due to a lot of them people wanting to settle over here. I'm finna get into reading on how they was pretty much butchering them people over there in Europe, man, with the way they was doing surgery in some of those places. I ain't saying all of them, but it's a known fact that they didn't have the highest form of surgery at all over there in them areas. You know what I'm saying? So it's about just taking heed, man. Like I showed, it was 83 to 90% success rate with us doing brain surgery. So you do the math, you know what I'm saying? You do the math.
The Spaniards studied the surgical techniques of the Aztec and sent written reports. All right, like I've been saying in the Atlantis breakdown of America. It said and sent them back to Europe. The infusion of information about both American Indian surgery and medicine fueled the growing scientific curiosity that marked the Renaissance, man. And so with those, it says see also anatomical knowledge. That is the study of anatomy, which is they got it pre-contact. Coca, which is the use of the coca leaf, what people know is cocaine today. The bridement. The bridement is something that we definitely discovered in the Southeast, which is the removal of worms and parasites. You know, that's considered something surgical as well, because you never know how deep the wound is. You know, it usually would be from some type of wound or infection. You know what I'm saying? You would use the bridement. Also, drainage. We know drainage is something that, you know, nobody wants to go through surgery. But when you gotta hear about drainage, that's something that's when you better that's when you right before amputation almost. Even with the bridement, you know what I'm saying? The bridement and drainage, you hear that, you really almost about to get something cut off if you don't get it up out of there. You know what I'm saying? But drainage itself, you know, it's more to it than just drainage. They used a tube or wick-like instrument, you know what I'm saying, to use to remove fluid from a cavity, a wound, or infected area. All right. If you look this up now today, they call it clinical lancing. And it's basically to remove stuff like pus, abscess, boils, and then, you know, even with an infected nasal passage, you know what I'm saying? It was even, you know, they use that for that as well, man. Drainage, man. Like I say, you hear that, man? Yo, something wrong. Trying to get something, you know, you gotta go get that seen about. All right, and then excision, we all know that can be scraping, you know, anything like dead skin, you know, and over, you know, obliterating mold or something. You know what I'm saying? Or like anything outside on the skin, pretty much that can be scraped. But sometimes it did go into where you had to, you know, cut something out, you know, whether it be like a tumor or something. You know what I'm saying? Even when it came to like gallbladders and benign lesions and stuff like that, it get that, you know, it get to that too. You know what I'm saying? This ain't no play here. You know what I'm saying? Let alone, you know, of course, with all this, they had hospitals. The hospitals were more so known in the Mesoamerican area, which is basically just Central America. But it wasn't like in the Southeast or in the Northeast, we didn't have hospitals. It would just be the fact that it'd be more private. You know what I'm saying? You get taken care of in North America more than likely you was just getting taken care of right there on the spot at the house or something. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, eventually we developed our own hospitals too. You know what I'm saying? And next, I will be getting into medicine, of course. And that is one thing that definitely our people took time to really enhance right quick. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, but I'm gonna come right back so I can get to it real quick. But
yeah, so we really, you know what I'm saying, the whole bill is basically showing culture. And I felt the need to stress just the whole medical side of it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I went with surgery first, just to open the door with it, and then get into more of the medical side of it as far as what we was using and what type of herbs and stuff we use for medicine and stuff like that, man. So yeah, I hope y'all straight out there, man, and keep rocking with me. I can't really see the chat, so I just wanted to keep the video playing. It's my first time streaming on this PC like this, so I just didn't want to mess nothing up. So salute to everybody who done came in, or if you had to come in and leave, come back, that's cool, man. I'm all good. I just want everybody to catch up and check out the bill, and let's just break this thing down the right way, man. I might even open the panel for a little bit if I have time, but if not, maybe we could try to go live later on and talk about it or something, but yeah, let's keep rocking for a minute.
medicine is definitely one that we gotta definitely take heed of. Not only the fact that we had medicine, but the tools that we use for medicine, because this all ties in to the surgery. This all ties in to the great, feats that the guys were doing. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't just walking around catching diseases and stuff, passing out, falling out dead. You know what I'm saying? We were a cultural people. You know what I'm saying? And with our cultures, we actually developed actual cities that they call civilizations. You know what I'm saying? Let me get back right quick so I can share my screen, man. Bear with me. I'm gonna get to it right now. So here we go, y'all. Let's get it, man. And like I say, man, this is all pretty much pre-contact, man. Knowing the fact that our people actually use medicine, because nowadays you don't really get medicine. You get suppressants and you get, whatever else they want to call it, man. Just drugs, basically, that kind of just, synthesize whatever you feeling. Or supposedly, if anything, it'll be something to mess your liver up. Now, not to take lightly, like herbs don't neither, because you do have to know what you're doing when you're using herbs, man. You got to drink plenty of fluids. Most of the time, it's good to eat with them as well. But medicine, of course, pre-contact, North American, Mesoamerican, and Circumcaribbean with South American. Once again, the whole Americas, man. Medicine is the science of diagnosing, treating, and preventing diseases. It is also concerned with maintaining health. All right. American Indians were sophisticated healers, relying on a number of botanical drugs that remain in use today, including guaiacum, ipecac, kaolin, and quinine. All right. It says Indians of both North and Mesoamerica routinely use antibiotic medications. All right. The Plains tribes of North America use antiviral medications. And y'all know that's stuff to help get down the viral infections and stuff like that. The Aztec, whose empire was established in Mesoamerica about 1,100 years. Well, actually, that would be 2,200 years ago, or 29, whatever it says, performed medical research recording the medicinal uses for at least 1,200 plants. So like I say, once again, people, to be able to even dissect and study what a plant can do to your body is going to take you a numerous amount of years and a numerous amount of people to actually see and realize how many times or how much or what, the dosage or whatever is going to be the effect, man. Like, let's keep it real. All right. The pre-contact American Indians of Mesoamerica were the first people in the world to develop a public health care system and public health hospitals, facilities which today are designed for people who cannot afford health care and regular medical facilities. All right. As they were for pre-contact Aztec. Aztec physicians were specialists in areas such as obstetrics, which we know that was like the C-section and all that, stomach cutting stuff, the ears, and dentistry. All right. Aztec eye specialists performed cataract surgery. We already seen that. Okay. It says indigenous physicians of the Americas demonstrated extensive anatomical knowledge, that is studying anatomy and understood how to set bones. Okay. Orthopedic techniques. We went over that too. Treat wounds, prevent infections. All right. You already know what asepsis is. Remember, that's basically removal of parasites and worms and stuff, as well as performing complicated surgeries such as arthrocentesis and the removal of cataracts from the eyes. All right, so arthrocentesis, what is that? What's that, Jack? That's obtaining synovial fluid from within joint capsules if diagnosed for therapeutic purposes. So that's like when you got arthritis, gout, and even septic arthritis. That's like, when you got that arthritis that's infected, you know what I'm saying? When you really got to get it out or something bad gonna happen, that stuff calls for amputation too, man. So For those you know want to know, arthrosynthesis, you know, the removal of the fluid or obtaining the fluid, because sometimes you really can't remove all of it. You know what I'm saying? You can just obtain, you know, what it is and how it's developing a little bit to slow it down, and you know, it's basically even, you know, more about dieting to help that situation. But it says, of course, and the removal of cataracts from the eyes. Like I say, that's something major to be able to study how somebody's eyes need to be healed and you know, uncovered with clouds. Like, come on now. Since Father Bernardo Sahagún wrote of the duties of the Aztec physician in Historia General de las Casas de Nueva España, it says general history of the things of New Spain. That's what it means. It says the true doctor is a wise man. He imparts life. A tried specialist, he has worked with herbs, stones, trees, and roots. His remedies have been tested. He examines, he experiments, he alleviates sickness. All right. The medical practices he described were well established before European contact and stand in sharp contrast to the limited understanding of Europeans who, until the late 1700s, were generally ignorant of the causes of disease. Okay? They keep slaying them, man. This ain't me saying this. This ain't A1 or AP. This is the experts, the archaeologists, the anthropologists, the historians, you know what I'm saying, the scientists, the biologists. This is what they saying. It says they held that illness was divine punishment for sins. And because of this view, the sick often went untreated in Europe. More advanced European physicians adhered to the teachings of Claudius Galen, an ancient Greek physician. All right, and that was around 130, 200 AD. It says, who believed that illness was caused by an imbalance of bodily fluids, or humors, as these fluids were called. All right. It says, when doctors in Europe gave medical assistance, their treatments of choice most often were bleeding, vomiting, purging, and blistering. All right. So you had a ball or something, they just going like, yo, we just gonna pop it. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, blood and stuff running up out of it, and you know, the man arm turning black and green, and all of a sudden, because you done popped the man ball wrong. You know what I'm saying? It might need to be drained first. You see what I'm saying? Let alone, you know, whatever. It says, although they use botanicals to treat illness, they often combine them with ingredients such as blood, dung, which we know what that is pure pure human feces, okay? Probably was animal feces too, or whatever feces, and urine, man. What are we talking about? It says, beginning in the 1600s, they added metals such as lead and arsenic to their medicines, doing their patients more harm than good. All right, come on, man. What are we talking about? Blood-letting harsh emetics and blistering, burning the skin until it blistered. Like, yo, y'all sit up here, it's like, y'all got people hollering, man, doing people performing these type of arts that y'all done came up with, man. It says, well, also standard treatments in Europe. Medicine was a specialized endeavor for the Aztec. All right. It says not only were the general practitioners called, it says Taquito or Ticudo, it says, but also eye doctors, however that Latin word is, that New Water word, takes potly or dentist. I'm not even finna butcher that. It says in ear doctors, the Tenacatspati, and interns. So we had practitioners, eye doctors, dentists, ear doctors, interns, surgeons, and herbalists and pharmacists. Okay. It's some specialized endeavor for the Aztecs. That's what they're saying. It says the medical practices the conquistadors and colonists brought to the Americas from their homelands must have seemed barbaric to Indian peoples they encountered. Susan Neighbor Turkel writes in Colonial American Medicine. All right, so y'all try to look that up. Colonial American Medicine says, ignorant of medicine, the colonists, failed to cure most ailments and frequently inflicted harm on themselves when they tried. All right, that's just proof. It says, unaware of germs they could not see, they spread infection. Okay, that was a quote by that book by Miss Turkel. It says, although infectious diseases were much rarer among Indians before the germs of the invaders decimated the indigenous population of America, which we all know, it did hit a lot of people who were not able to receive the proper help at the time. But it's so many of us, especially up here in North America, that they really didn't know about. They was down there dealing with the Aztec. They ain't really come up here where we was at yet. That's why they were so amazed to find even more up this way. They're like, yo, hold up, man. Wait a minute. It's a whole nother field of doctors and stuff up here in the north part.
Yeah, and then so they didn't really notice. They ain't really notice us until like the early 1500s, like around 1520s, maybe early 1510s or something like that, up to the 1520s. That's when they start really discovering, where we at, North America. They start coasting down coastlines and stuff like that. We had an article in my museum where I'm at talking about De Soto when he met the Kofa Takechi tribe and how they described the people as well-proportioned, dark-skinned, bushy-haired, and had white teeth, and said that they smelled good, and said that they had on jewelry and clothes. This is what was described in that article in the Anderson Museum where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy how, a lot of stuff, when they did get up this way, that's when a lot of stuff was starting to spread more rapid. You had a lot more settling going on because it was so much land. It's so much land. It's still so much land up here, man. That's not tampered with or nothing. Like, we talking whole cities and states of just untampered land all across all across North America, man. So just wanted to take note of that.
All right. It says evidence exists that American Indians understood how diseases were spread. It says see also isolation. You know what I'm saying? So we practice basically quarantine. You know what I'm saying? And that was a practice that was done up there in the Northeast as well, because a lot of the invaders who were Europeans started coming from the Northeast, so they started quarantining them people. Man, you can look that up. That was happening in the 1700s, all up through that way during the in the area of Huron, which is the major city, and you got the, of course, with Lenny Nalape and all that was it. They had to actually quarantine people, man, that were foreign. It said in general, the health of indigenous Americans before contact was much better than that of Europeans at the time. Herman Viola and Carolyn Margolis, author of the book Seeds of Change, the story of cultural exchange after 1492. It says, noted the comments of one Indian who lived before the European invaders. Let me scroll up, y'all, because we've been killing that side of the earth. It said before European invasion, there was then no sickness. They had no aching bones. They had no high fever. They had then no smallpox. So they had then no burning chest. They had then no abdominal pain. They had then no consumption. They had then no headache. All right. It said infectious diseases were rare, in part because people in North America live primarily in small settlements, and in part because, except for trade, all right, they did not have extensive contacts with people outside of their groups. Okay. It said the world's leading infections were byproduct of the rise of agricultural and pastoral peoples in the Eastern Hemisphere, where humans began living in dense, often sedentary, and usually unhygienic concentration. Okay, according to Viola and Marigoli. So all that is just basically them breaking down, like, once again, these people do not have the hygiene or the standards to even be amongst the Americans. Okay, our people, man. It says another factor that promoted lower rates of disease was an emphasis on personal hygiene. That is one I will be getting into later after I let AP do his thing. It says daily bathing was routine among indigenous people throughout the Americas, as was disposing of human waste far from villages and camps. The colonists dumped their slop buckets into the streets, spreading disease among themselves as well as among American Indians. Okay. It says good nutrition. Shout out to A1, the nutritionist, also helped to keep American Indians relatively healthy before the European invasion. The indigenous people of North America ate foods high in vitamin C that guarded against scurvy. And we know what scurvy is. That's basically just lacking, people not eating enough fruits and vegetables, people just running around here doing all other type of stuff, just eating a bunch of, dead carcasses, and they flushing it down with the right greens, and apples and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? The berries. I say even inland culture groups included sources of iodine in their diet, preventing goiter. And that's basically when your throat, when your throat clog, get swollen or get like a knot on it, man, the iodine actually, the right dosage can help take the swelling down and stuff like that. It said a condition that was epidemic among Europeans. All right. So we had goiter prevention. All right. It says European colonists quickly learned to rely on American Indian remedies. Many Indian botanical medicines were adopted in the U.S. pharmacopoeia, a list of available drugs sanctioned by the medical community. It says by the beginning of the 1800s, non-Indian botanical or herb doctors began using herbal remedies learned from the American Indians to treat patients. It said as support for their practice, they pointed to the discovery of quinine as a treatment of malaria and digitalis, a heart medicine the Indians derived from foxgloves. So, that quinine or quinine or whatever, I'm pretty sure that's in most malaria treatments and stuff like that, trying to keep that formed up. You see what I'm saying? And like I say, once again, we had to, because why? Our people was getting bit up by mosquitoes and stuff like that. You feel me? Or whatever the case may be. Changing the diets and stuff, It says non-Indian enthusiasm for Indian cures led to the creation of patent medicines. Okay, it says see also medicines patent American Indian influence on pharmacology. Okay, so it just led to the influence of people putting patents on it, but not giving credit to the actual American and the people. Just like what we showed in the last American guys, all the inventions that we came up with, irrigating, plumbing, all the stuff A1 showed, AP showed you geometry, stone masonry, just all the different stuff that we covered in the first one. This is just more proof of us actually, being this established, man. I mean, let's just get it, man. It says, but nevertheless, Benjamin Rush, convinced that bloodletting worked, refused to believe that anything of the benefit could be learned from American Indians. Here we go, a hater. We have no discoveries in the material America to hope for from the Indians in North America, specifically us. You see what I'm saying? Like, they want to not, definitely don't give us no shout out. It say, he wrote in 1774, it would be a reproach to our schools of physics. It said, if modern physicians were not more successful than the Indians, even in the treatment of their own diseases, his opinion ran counter to reality. All right. So basically, like, you know, he was just out here lying. You know what I'm saying? Historian Fraser Symington, comparing non-Indian and Indian medical practices in the 1600s, wrote, the Canadian Indian, all right, we up in Canada now, the Iroquois excelled in their treatment of wounds, fractures, and dislocations, all right? It says, and their herbalists provided a great fund of knowledge to Europe, all right? So this is all the stuff you can see, you know, that they was using as far as medicine, man. The anesthetics, like I say, we all know that stuff that help numb, you know, keep the pain down or whatever. Anti-asthmatic, we know that's to help with asthma. You have medications for that, certain plants. We know you can definitely give a shot at those, looking those up for all those who have the asthma problems or bronchitis or whatever, but you probably already have. The antihelmintics, all right? The antihelmintics, I know I'm butchering it, my bad. It said it destroys parasites or worms. Once again, yeah, of course, the antispasmodic is controlling the seizures. Aromatherapy, we already know that's creating incense and oil burners, and you know, knowing how to use the flora with the flowers, getting the certain flowers that have the smells that's needed for the treatment. Of course, arthritis treatment for the swelling, astringements, you know what I'm saying? The Casakara Sagrada, you know what I'm saying? I think that was like a some type of performance where it's like some type of cut or something. I gotta be for sure. I'll get back to that one. I forgot to do that one. My bad. But all these things are pretty much just all the medical things and medical treatments that we perform. You know what I'm saying? Being able to give diuretics, that's of course being, you know, helping produce urine, helping people, you know, pee or whatever. Earache treatments, enemas. You know, of course, the enemas is when you use the fluid to, you know, shoot up a cavity, you know, to help, you know, clean or filter out whatever. Ephedra, excision, of course, you know, even with forceps, you know what I'm saying? Just a lot, man. Gastroenteritis treatment, you know, stomach viruses and stuff like that. We did it all, man. I mean, it's no end to it, really. Pretty much everything that is being done now, the American gods, American ancestors, and our American people profound, stamped, and shared it with the world, man. So with that being said, I ain't gonna hold up too much. Let AP do his thing, and I'm gonna load up my next harvest. Work.
Man, this is some heat, bro. I ain't gonna lie, dude. You dropped some heat, man. Y'all brothers going in. I ain't gonna lie. This heavyweight motherfucking jam, man. Drop them fire emojis in the chat, man. Drop them fire emojis in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. We're gonna play a little music and we're gonna be right back.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
You know what I mean? Play a little jammy jam.
To AP
we'll be right
part.
back. Yeah, no time. It's a hard task coming behind these brothers, honestly. Very hard to do. All right. So one of the main things we're gonna be touching on is the Southeast, East Woodlands, and Mesoamerican cultures. Right now, we're gonna focus in on the Southeast Woodlands culture. You feel what I'm saying? Then we'll make our way to the Mesoamerican culture. So you see what it is: Yuchi, Cherokee, Alabama, the whole Pensacola area, Louisiana. I'm talking about from the Natchez all the way to the motherfucking Micmac, Cherokee to the Tunickie, the Yazoo to the Timbuktu, the Appalachee to the motherfucking Natchez. You understand what I'm saying? We're gonna get it in. We're gonna be breaking down some history. We're gonna be breaking down things that is known and whether they're contributions and some of the things that is credited towards these particular people. All right. So while we look at some of that, we're gonna zoom in. Let's go, everybody. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Let's get it. All right. So I say, let's get into it. Said the conclusion reached often unwillingly as the results of these investigations in all departments of research, historic and ethnological and traditional may be briefly stated as follows. All right. First, the progress made by the ancient civilization tribes in the direction of the civilization and ancient and semi-civilization. All right. So as we look at this, what does that mean to you guys? What does that mean to you guys? We're about to be getting into some forms of government. So when we're talking about ancient civilization, you know, they have a visual general location based off of archaeology, anthropology, where these particular ancient places is. Do y'all need to see a visual of what some of the ancient places look like of the southeast and southwest? Okay, so let's get into this because we're gonna be getting into some of these ancient civilizations, anyways. And we're talking about all the way down from the Hohokam all the way up to Utah. So let me just show y'all a quick image of this, and we'll bounce right back around to what I'm reading right here. I just want to give y'all a visual. This is a map from the American Indian Encyclopedia of ancient civilizations of the Southwest, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Aztec, that's California. We got Colorado right above her, Fremont, Utah. You know, Sevier County. We got the Anasazi. We got Arizona. We got some of New Mexico. You know what's going on. We're talking about Pueblo areas. We're talking about Mesoamerica, Hopewell. We're talking about that whole blend of culture. We're talking about a general location. Okay, so let's get back into the main meat and potatoes of what I was reading for you guys. So let's get right back into it. All right, let's go. All right, shout out to everybody in the building. So it said the first progression made by the ancient tribes in the direction of the civilization or semi-civilization has been overestimated. The stone grave race of the builders of the ancient mounds and the earthworks in Tennessee and probably in the Mississippi Valley were Indians, North American Indians, probably the ancestors of the south of the southern red and copper color Indians. Okay. Found by whites in the general section of the race formerly living under conditions of life somewhat different what they have of more nomadic hunting tribes than Indians, but not different from them in the essential characteristics of the Indian race. So it's giving the distinguishing characteristics of these people. We're going to get into some living style. It says, second, the interesting collection of the mounds, earthwork, and stone graves found in Tennessee in the southern collection are simply the remains of the ancient fortified towns, villages, settlements, once inhabited by tribes, Indians more devoted to agriculture and stationary in their habits than their hunting tribes generally known to the white. So it's saying the people of the mound builders, the people that was in these Tennessee, Kentucky, this east southern woodland was kind of different than the ones that was west of them in the Great Plains areas. This is who they're comparing them to. They said it was of darker complexion and maybe even be the ancestors of the copper color and the red natives. And they was more stationary. There was less hunter and gatherers and more stationary when it comes to their habits. And these brothers talked about agriculture, irrigation, and various other things That's just adding to that. Okay. Third conclusion: no single implement or article or manufacture of earthwork or defense work has been found amongst the remains, indicating intelligence of advancements in civilization beyond that of the Indians having intercourse with the whites within historical period. All right, you understand what I'm saying? It's saying that the Indians of the past was very intelligent. They had the advancements in civilization beyond the other Indians that they have came in contact with. We're talking mound builders, East Woodland areas, right? All right. It said fourth, the accumulation of dense populations that favored the location and progression made forward civilization. We probably were probably the resorts periods repose in the quiet and enable these tribes to collect more permanent inhabitants and to pursue for the time more peaceful modes life than some of the other neighbors' successors. Okay, so they said some of the tribes probably had other reasons why they did not make it to these particular regions. So as we get into civilization and we get into these great ancient civilizations, I'm gonna get into some more contributions of some of these civilizations because they make great contributions, you guys. What I mean by great contributions, we just have to get into that right now. So let's get into that right now. Shout out to everybody that's in the building, man. I need everybody to hit that like button and to thumb up the video. All right, thumb up the video. All right, let's get right into it, you guys. All right, urban planning. This is North America. We're going to be dealing with the area, the Northeast, the Southeast woodlands. And like I said, we're going to be bouncing around Mesoamerica in just a second. Just bear with me. So right here, we're going to be dealing with urban planning. This goes back over 3,000 years ago, closer to about 4,000 years ago. We're looking about 3,700 years ago. Okay, about 3,700 years ago. Okay. So urban planning involves the design of cities. We already talked about the great cities and the ancient fortified towns and the advanced settlements and intelligence.
Like, let's just be real, man. I mean, off the gate, you know what I'm saying? It's 3,700 years ago, basically 4,000 years ago. We saying, okay, let's go ahead and make this thing unique. Let's do some buildings where a lot of people can fit in. Let's do some apartments. Let's do some hospitals, some civic centers, some arenas. Hey, man, shout out to AP, man.
Right. So it talks about this urban planning. When you think of urban, you're thinking something that's modern, something that's right now, something that's in fashion, something that's in popularity. So 3,000 years ago, almost 4,000 years ago, they built something that is considered today's fashion urban. So urban planning involves the design of cities to improve equality of life. Some of the issues of urban planners must take into account are population density, right? Population density, making sure people can operate, maneuver, move within commerce, and still be able to live without causing entanglements, fractions, or buildups. All right. Also be able to move through the cities and distribute sanitation and removing it from the areas and disposing it properly. Okay. So we're dealing with transportation and being able to deal with the environmental situation. So just before we even get into the population, before we even get into transportation, environmental issues, we got to make sure the density of the city is equivalent to fashionable living. For instance, places that's overdense like China, they have nowhere to live. People are living in closets, shoe boxes, up under the bed, for $1,200 a month to live in a closet because of the density. It's so many people. It's hard to move through there. That's why bikes is one of the main parts of transportation. So this is a sense of science that is very, very detrimental to developing thriving cities that can possibly expand, right? So urban planners must take into account of population density, transportation, right? Transportation means to be able to travel, And this is on a large scale. We're talking about in general. This is for the general public to be able to have transportation. So we're talking public transportation. Almost like you catching a bus in your local city and taking it from one end of the town to the other end of the town. This is a system that has been in place in America, in North America, right, for over 4,000 years. Okay, so we're talking environmental issues, sanitation. Many of the earliest cities throughout America show evidence of urban design, right? We can see first cities in America here in a minute. Okay, the planning that went into these urban environments revealed the often surpassed that of the old world. Understand what I'm saying? It said it surpassed of that of the old world. And that's critical when we getting into a lot of these conversations. Okay, so let me move over a little bit. Sorry about that. Let me just move up. Just deal with ancient road systems. So as we deal with road systems, we're going to deal with another part of North America. Mesoamerica deals with the part that we call Mexico today, the place that we call Arizona today, the place that we call New Mexico today. So this is a blend culture. The Olmecs was in all these areas, so we're going to get into some of the culture. Okay. All right. Hold on. Urban development. So we're gonna get into some of the Inca roads. All right. So like the Mesoamerican, this is urban planning still. We're still dealing with urban planning. Like the Mesoamericans, the Hopewell, whose culture arose at the bottomland of North America, Midwest around 2,000 years ago, laid their cities out using astronomical events and aligned streets and buildings. So when we're talking 2,000 years ago, and we're talking about historical buildings found in America going back 3,000 years ago, we're talking about very, very sophisticated science. You understand what I'm saying? And so when they say streets astronomically aligned, buildings astronomically aligned, we're talking about a science that can't be refuted. Okay, we're talking about a science that can't be refuted.
Yeah, it is major though, in a real way, because you talking about mapping out the sky with the land already, and being able to align certain buildings or certain monuments or whatever you putting on the land, whatever you constructing is gonna represent an astrological or astronomical aspect. It's it gets no better than that, man. That's being in tune, as above so below. You know what I mean?
When we say buildings, we're talking about the same images that come up in your mind. Think right now in your mind, you guys. I want you to close your eyes. And when you think of ancient buildings, astronomically aligned, okay, the buildings in streets, what do you think of? Open your eyes, and this is what you're thinking of. Because this is what was literally around when we started building. These are the architectural styles that you would have found in America 2,000 years ago. These are the architectural designs that you would have seen that would have been astronomically aligned, the streets astronomically aligned thousands of years ago. Okay, drop that fire emoji in the chat if y'all can see everything loud and clear. So let's continue reading. So they had them astronomically aligned in events, and throughout they did not build pyramids as the Mayan and Olmec did. We're talking about the Hopewell. But they did construct enormous earth mounds that required the cooperation of the entire community to complete. Households were grouped around small plazas that defined neighborhoods. So now we're no longer having these temples, these pyramids, and it went to an urban look now. So now we have neighborhoods, houses, right? Households. Now we have neighborhoods, right? Now let's get into it. Each neighborhood contained sweat lodges. What is a sweat lodge? Well, we have to go to steam rooms to see. What a sweat lodge is like a sauna room. So imagine a duplex house in a duplex house, and the only thing that's separating the duplex house is a sauna room that they can both go into from both ends and enjoy. So we're talking about urban development 2,000 years ago. Okay, so they would have had steam rooms and a community meeting hall as well as a community storage building. So they would have had a place like a gazebo center so they can barbecue, kids could play, and the elders could communicate what's going on in the neighborhood, and also a place to store things like agriculture equipment, right? Dentist equipment, school equipment. So they had community storage buildings 2,000 years ago in North America. All right, and this is credited to some of the Hopewell people, and there's various different tribes that's in the Hopewell community, and we're gonna get into some of those tribes here in just a second. Just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me. Just bear with me, okay? Because we're gonna get into a couple of those tribes. I actually want to get into a couple of those right now while we just building up to it. Let's get into a couple of those tribes. I got it pulled up. Yeah, I got it pulled up in just a second. Give me just a second. I'll pull that thing up in just a second. But yeah, as we continue to look at some of this science, though, is what we're dealing with is some of the most sophisticated science around. All right. All right. It said the Anasazi of the North American Southwest, whose culture arose about 350 BC, also show evidence of urban planning, right, with the Pueblo styles, which are apartment complexes, in other words, right? They had the same thing going on. They had the collection of units, standardized group of 15 units in one building, in one dwelling, also workrooms, a plaza, a kaveka, right? In a cemetery. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what we would have had almost 2,000 years ago, a little bit over 2,000 years ago, excuse me. Over 2,000 years ago. Not only would they would have had the same things, they would have said, in order to ensure the city's survival, the Anasazi built check dams in order to provide water for fresh and drinking. They made forming terraces, roads, and towers that archaeologists, that archaeologists believe have been signaling stations. According to landscape architect John Bryan Berkeley, the urban planning of the Anasazi may provide answers for the problem that plague urban planners today. The Anasazi existed in the Puebloan culture, present in lifestyle that of the relevance of the development of the global community. It is of the relevance of the development of the global community. Puebloan style is an example acting in the preceding, illustrating how the diverse set of Pueblo Indians adopted some common convention and survival in the resource-limited biosphere. So utilizing tools and other nations and tribe factors is what helped some of these urban developments. Another part of urban developments is be able to run this transportation, the sanitation, the density. How would you be able to organize that? It got to be something in place to pay a system. That system is the same system that we use today. We call it a tax system. A tax system is something that's common to our Americas, Mesoamerica, South America, and North American culture. We're going to get into it. All right, taxes are fees and duties that are levied to people in order to support the government under which they live. Rulers have extracted tax systems and forms of tribute in many parts of the world, including the Americas. For extents, the American Indians' taxation systems took a slightly different form from the practice in other parts of the world. In general, the North American Indians made made voluntary contributions to the well-being of the community's compulsory taxation development in South America and Mesoamerica, along with the bureaucracies and administrations of these systems. Right? So we got tax systems. Okay? You know how important the tax system is? Do you understand how important a tax system is? I don't think we understand how important it is. So I think we got to really start paying attention to what's going on around us when we start breaking down this ancient Aboriginal history. I think we're sleeping on what's going on around us. Okay. So we're going to get into some more taxation. One of the oldest taxations is found in America. Goes back 4,000 years ago. We had a taxation system in America going back 4,000 years ago. Okay. That's 2000 BC. Okay. So we got these urban developments, you got these urban planning, you got taxation, transportation, sanitation. This sounds like a what to you? This don't sound like no village. What does this sound like to you? It sounds like a city. You're absolutely right. And it's one of the first cities in the Americas. Okay. It's one of the first cities in the Americas. And now we're still dealing with Southeast. You understand what I'm saying? We're still dealing with Southeast and Mesoamerican culture, South Andre cultures. So we're going to be breaking down a lot of the actual data to your culture. See, a lot of people doing their genealogy, a lot of people have looked into their history. A lot of people are just now really understanding what connection and what tribe, what family, what nation your family is connected to. The brother Aboriginal Power, the brother Autochthonous One, my brother Jaguar Omac has just dropped very valuable parts of your culture, very parts of your traditional practices, a lot of part of your inventions that has been plagued and hidden that your ancestors directly gave in contributions to around the world. Okay. So we're going to continue to get into some more developments, but right now we're looking at some of the first cities in the world. Okay. And first cities mean that we're no longer living primitive. You can't equate our ancestors, American Indians, American Aboriginals, if you will. You cannot equate that to being primitive. You can't equate that to being primitive. You can't. How can you have one of the first cities but yet be primitive? Does that make any sense to you guys? Does that make any sense? No, it don't. So we're gonna get into some more things, right? Because we just broke down some of the urban planning and what goes into urban planning. Let's go. It says cities are centers of population. In addition to being places where people live, they tend to be a focal point for commerce. Okay. What does commerce mean? Hold on just a second, you guys. What does commerce mean?
Word, man. Yeah, AP probably had some setup stuff he needed to get in line, but
My bad. Need to get something to drink. What does commerce mean? Commerce, to be able to work, to be able to travel, to be able to make money, to be able to have economic gain. Right? So that's one of the main focal points. It said many up to 75 to 100 million indigenous residents in the Western Hemisphere were urban dwellers. That means the population of Black people today is allegedly 40 million. I think it's really about 75 to 100 million right now in America. And you mean to tell me that we never live primitive? We live urban? Huh? We lived urban. 75 to 100 million lived urban dwellers before European settlers established their cities in America. So we had the first city. So what they call the New World. The oldest city that is found is El Esperoro, Peru. That is Corral Supe. I'm not even going, you know what I'm saying, hold y'all up with that. Y'all know what Corral Supe do. So we're dealing with Corral Supe, right? Now, Corral Supe has something that's very, very intriguing. Okay? It got super highways. We got roads. We just told you they had transportation. Well, y'all didn't have animals big enough. We had horses, camels, and mules, buffaloes, and some more shit. Even if we had dogs, we had a way to travel. Well, y'all didn't create the wheel. Well, why would we create highways? Why would we create roads? Why would we create bridges? Why would we create cities if we did not have the wheel? This is the American Indian Encyclopedia. And right here you see it says wheels. So don't ever let them lie to you. Wheels are a solid cylinder disc that are attached to an axle in place. Other than the America, wheels were used on carts that were pulled. It said in places other than the Americas, wheels were used on carts that were pulled by draft animals. Okay? So don't let nobody out here tell you that we didn't have the wheel. We already had the wheel here. We already had the wheel. You see what I'm saying? Give me 2 seconds. Guess what else we had here? Writing systems. Now, before I even go into writing systems, I want people to have an acute understanding of what's going on around here in America. Okay? It is very, very sophisticated people here. It has an understanding of science. It has an understanding of who we are, agriculture, willingness, various different things. You see what I'm saying? So as I get into the rest of this science, man, we're going to break it down, man. I need y'all to hit that like button, thumb up the video. Let's get into some more of this heat. All right. So one of the areas that we're going to get into, I'm bouncing around a little bit, my bad. Let's keep it in order. So we on writing systems. Let me get to writing systems, goddamn. So we got writing. That goes back at least 2,000 years ago, 2,600 years ago. North America, South American, and Mesoamerican culture. So I'm going to be wrapping around. That's why I'm touching on Mesoamerican, because Mesoamerican goes into the place that we now call North America. All right. It said writing is a system of communication used conventionally markings. Indigenous peoples throughout the pre-contact America used the writing system called pictograph to record information and wrote information with varying degrees of sophistication. The writing systems range from a simple pictograph, rock dwellings of ancient North America, Paleo Indians, to a complex writing system of the Mayas, capable of recording anything spoken in the Mayan language. These writing systems were developed independently from those in other parts of the world. Okay, they was independently from other people, so they wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as everybody else shit. Okay, so I want y'all to pay attention to that. All right, let's go to this other part right here. So let's get into some of the Chippewa. Oh, is that where I want to go? Sorry about that. Let me go down. So the Anasazi. Damn. All right, here it go. So we know the Anasazi is in the southeast woodlands. We know they're in the southwest. It's some ancient in some of the ancient civilizations. So we're gonna get into it. All right. Hey, y'all drop a fire emoji out there too. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all drop a fire emoji out there in the chat, man. Turn up out there. Pictograms are drawings made for the purpose of communication rather than art. Okay, so most people's like, oh, them just pictures. Oh, them shit that y'all ancestors drawing, them murals, them ain't nothing. Them just drawings. No, they're not just art. According to the experts, pictograms are drawings made for a purpose of communicating rather than just a picture, right? They're primarily used as a way to remember oral traditions. So instead of so most people would think oral traditions is just spoken. No, oral traditions is also written down. Okay, they can also be a way to record history or to communicate simple information to others. Pictograms in the form of pictographs, right? And incision bones have been found. Incision bones have been found throughout the Americas. The Chippewa or the Anishinaabe, right, use the bones and stone stylus to impress details of their midwinterwing. I don't even know which are medicine sorcerer. Society. Excuse me, medicine society. Healing rituals include songs. What do you mean? Songs. So you will go into a building that they call churches today, right? You notice that these old churches that they call cathedrals will have these instruments and they're called organs. Well, that's not something that Europeans know how to use. They thought it was for just jumping around and just pray. No, these are medical instruments that was inside of a medicine society of healing rituals that included songs or organs, which is a form of vibration. So we're going to
Yeah, that's a fact, though. I mean, because certain tones and in the form of words and expression, especially, certain sounds, of course, the frequency and vibration. You know how when certain people can sing and it give you chills or can give you a feeling of inspiration or joy or whatever. And you got some people that know how to sing, make you feel sad and want to cry like a mug. You know what I'm saying? But I get what he's saying though. But AP funny than a mug though, man. AP is hilarious, man. I don't know if anybody is catching up like catching. But this dude is go, man. You mean this dude? I just know him, man. I don't know if I know some of us probably who will probably catch this on and know what's up, nigga. Yeah. Hey, man. Let's just keep it rolling real quick.
get into including songs, herbal knowledge, and the incision rights on bark, right? So bark deals with penicillin, other medicines that my brother Jaguar brought up, right? So the Chippewa dealt with this. Very sophisticated forms of writing. Other American Indians developed more abstract symbols that present day information they wish to communicate. The Iroquois, for example, are the wampum beads woven into slashes and belts to record tribal alliances, right? The South American Inca, which established, so it's just talking about language. And language is very important because it's languages all around America that has been found. Let me pull up another one that has been found. We just pulled up some inner side, pictographs. Let's get into some more. So right here we have the Epigraphic Society, occasional publications, ancient Arabic script and vocabulary of the Algonquin Indians. This is by Barry Field, and it's in the Agassiz Museum, and this is by Harvard University. Okay, so this is a Harvard University study on ancient Arabic script and the vocabulary, right, of the ancient Algonquin Indians. All right, so it said, for example, the Algonquin, materials of the Peabody Museum collection at Harvard University, my attention was drawn by Mr. Joseph Geronimo to an old birch bark manuscript labeled as the Cree origin. Now, for those that don't know who the Cree is, the Cree are indigenous peoples. The Cree are indigenous peoples. They still around today. They got a very sophisticated language, and the people still speak it today. Believe it or not, the people still speak it today. And there's no, I've been trying to pull up and see if I can pull up my Instagram, because I actually been, it won't let me, and I've been trying for the last 30 minutes since these brothers been on. It won't let me, and I got an actual video from a Cree person that I actually know that actually still speaks the Cree language, and they are classified today as a Negro. Okay, but I do want to let you hear some of them speaking some of the Cree language, maybe, because we're talking about this Algonquin being comparative to the Cree language, but the Cree and the Algonquin is not the same. The Creek and the Algonquin and the Cree is not the same. Okay, so I just want to make that very, very clear. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Can y'all hear me loud and clear? I want to make sure y'all can hear me loud and clear in the chat. I want to make sure we good. Can we get y'all to drop a fire emoji? Can we get y'all to drop a fire emoji, please? All right, so now let's get into it. I'm about to let you hear the Cree, sister. Let's go. So if you want to hear the language, that's just what you, I just want to give y'all some hearing. So I want y'all to be able to hear it. I want y'all to be able to visualize the sound of what we're talking about when we're talking about these in Algonquin language, right? That they labeled as Cree origin. That's what the Cree would have sounded like. And it's possibly what some of this ancient Arabic Algonquin would have sounded like. Not the modern Algonquin, ancient Algonquin script. Okay, it says, so the occurring two horizontal lines of the script, ladder in black. The script, it was mystified to observe, is that of the ancient Arab city of Palmyra in Syria. A script found in the steles of the ruins of Palmyra was deciphered. In modern times, it seemed inconceivable that any Cree Indian could have become acquainted with it centuries ago. So they're saying that the language that was deciphered is not actually Arabic. It's actually more related to Cree, because Cree is more of a complete version of the actual language that was deciphered. But they saying there's no way for Cree or Algonquin Indian to have been in the Eastern Hemisphere that far long ago. But it is. Okay. Okay, he said a Cree Indian cannot have been acquainted with that centuries ago. When the birch bark text was written, I therefore made an investigation of the matter. And here goes a complete diagram chart of the language broke down. Now we're looking at diacritical marks within the language and the evolution of the language, and which one is complete within diacritory marks. And here goes the actual alphabet languages, English language. See the modern Arabic, ancient Playmore Arabic, which is the ancient city script that was found. This is the ancient city script that was found. And here goes the Cree language. Here goes the Cree language on the end. And what you're looking at is a more complete language. So the language that was found here, which is Playmore, right? Which is the ancient city of Arabic, right? It's not, and this is modern Arabic. They're saying that it couldn't, this don't belong to something that comes from the modern Arabic. It don't come from that. It's not from the same system. When they looked at the ancient Cree language, they said, oh, why does it match the Cree language instead of the Arabic language? So they made the assumption that this had to come from this, because this is a complete version of what you see here. And you can look at the whole chart right here. And so this is very sophisticated breakdown of Algonquin American Indian language. And this language is found in the Mediterranean, it's found in Egypt, it's found in Sumeria, it's found in various parts of the Eastern Hemisphere. And it's found throughout the Americas. And it's still spoken by Aboriginals, so-called American Negroes today. Okay, still spoken by our people today. All right. So we're talking about cultures throughout all Americas, and we're talking about societies that's probably credited to having some of the first cities in the world. Let's get into that. So what we're looking at right here is a Choctaw word, the name for the tribe that was part of the Creek Confederacy. And those members lived in what is now central part of the state of Alabama. It comes from the Choctaw word Alabama, right? Which means vegetation or thicket. And Amo means gatherings or clearer. The historians think that the name referred to the tribe's land clearing inventors uh, of the agricultural purposes, sometimes called the Malpa. And the Alabama was used in the first accounts of the 1540 journey throughout the area by Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez. So Hernan Cortez was talking about Alabama and the Alabamian Indians. And
It's Hernando de Soto, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how he ended up butchering that like that, man. But shout out to AP though. I don't know how bro got Cortez out of De Soto, but that's my bro though. Yeah,
1540, he never called them Indians in 1540. He called them Americans. He called them Americans. You know what I mean? So shout out to everybody that's in the building. I haven't had a chance to hit the like button or thumb up the video. If you haven't had a chance to hit the like button, thumb up the video, make sure you hit the like button, thumb up the video. Okay. Let's get to some more things, man. Let's get into some more things. We're gonna get into the Natchez because we know that the Natchez was in Alabama as well, right? The Natchez was in Alabama. They was in Mississippi. They was in that whole little area. Oh shit! I don't know what the fuck that was playing. My bad, you guys. Shout out to everybody in the building. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. It said the Wet'suit was expired. The governor of the New Orleans being bent on the destruction of the Natchez. They fled beyond the Mississippi and the settlement to 180 miles up to the Red Sea, to the Red River. There they built a fort for protection. There he pursued them, besieged the fort, and compelled them to surrender and declaration. Right? The women and children were reduced to slavery. Now, listen, this is what they did to the Natchez and some of these indigenous Indians in the Alabama area. He said the women and the children were in slavery. So we know how the laws was, right? We're talking Spanish. All right, and then they were scattered amongst the plantations. This sounds like some Negro stories, don't it? Sound like the same stories that the slave guys tell you that you came from Africa. You are prisoners of war, man. This is an act of war. This is what they're explaining, an act of war. That's why they built forts and shit. So they became prisoners of war. All right, so they was reduced and scattered amongst plantations, the women and the children. The men were sent to slave at Santo Domingo. So they saying that the Natchez from Alabama, New Orleans, was enslaved and sent out to Santo Domingo. Now, what's unique about the Natchez is that they speak a form of what we call French language. And you got to ask yourself, did the Haitians really come up with the French language that you see that is credited to a person who created Chicago, or was it an indigenous Aborigines that we call the Natchez that really created Chicago and that they mismistaken?
I'm saying, and I mean, you know, it's to me, I think it's more so just a symptom of both, as far as yeah, they probably do just speak that language over there in Haiti like that, and naturally in New Orleans, and you know what I'm saying. They naturally have a natural slang that's different from how even we got it up in the Carolinas. You know what I'm saying? Like the New Orleans, you know, they stress their babies and all that. You know, we just country as hell. You know what I mean? Other than that, you got, you know, the West Coast, they sound different. Up north, you know, they have a little bit more proper determination with their vocabulary, but they got a slang that they talk too. So I mean, it's, I guess it just depends on, you know, where you at with it. But at the end of the day, I see what he's saying. You know, it makes sense as far as being in the Americas and knowing how they talk down in New Orleans, as far as being, you know, with the Natchez being in New Orleans, and you know, it does make sense. It does.
You feel me? That they mistaking as a Haitian art form. You see what I'm saying? So let's continue. All right. It said their villages were first constant with 1,200 souls. Right. So it was only, they said after so long, the city was only built off of 1,200 people. All the Indians, they were the most polished and civilized. Why? Why was they the most polished and civilized? Why was they the most polished and civilized, you guys? Because they come from societies that created civilization. Okay? Of course, they act more civilized than the person who subdued them. The probability is that they all had the arts of the Mexican. Do you hear that? When they say Mexican, they're not talking about the people that occupy that area today. They mean the Olmecs. They mean the Olmecs. They're talking about brothers like Jaguar Olmec, brothers like Tennessee whiskey. You don't know if y'all know who that is. And brothers like myself. You see what I'm saying? All right. It said the Mexicans as well as their form of government. Who had the government here? The American Indians. Who is the people? Olmecs. So they talking about Olmecs and their government and religion. They had already established religion and regular priesthood. All right. It said that they had kings or chiefs. And the subordinate nobility. Who do they call the great people of nobility? AKA Moors, AKA Aboriginals, AKA Indigenous Indians, Aborigines. Y'all hear this shit, man? Let's get into it. All right, it said the usual distinction creation by the rank were understood and preserved, in all which instance there were not any fanatics between them. And the Indians east of the Mississippi and north of the Ohio, and also east of the Alleghenies and north of the Savannah, the Natchez were skilled. Let me read this right here. It said the Natchez were skilled in their knowledge of medicinal plants and their properties. So we're talking about people that already have an accustomed and a severe understanding of the science of agriculture. We got to make that clear what we're looking at here. Let's continue reading. The cures they performed, particularly against the French, were almost incredible. They did not deem it glorious to destroy the human species. They were seldomly engaged in any other wars than defense ones, right? So he said they was in war, but it was never really a defense war. All right. It said they were just generously and humane and greatly attentive to the wants and necessities to those who needed assistance. Talking about our people were just so happy to help. Oh, damn, you cut your face? I got something for it. Damn, you got chapped lips? little colonizer, I got something for it. Oh, your baby got some teeth coming in, we got something for it. Pregnant woman having cramps, we got something for it. So we're talking about very needing. They was up to you. If you looked like you needed something, we was at your hand and feet. It could be a king, a chief, he said. He said most of them was kings and chiefs, and yet they was ready to serve you as a true king and chief should. Okay. Okay. It said it was extremely probable that the nations, when in the days it was prosperous, extent of the Wabash extended up the rivers from the Mississippi southerly and easterly, the rivers of which fell into the waters which fell into the rivers, all right, into the May, and some shit like that. But it gets into so much in this particular article, and this is a dope book, which I'm gonna get into some more of in just a second. But we're talking about this southeast woodland area, and we done touched on Tennessee, Alabama, New Orleans, St. Louis, Missouri. We ain't hit Kentucky yet, and we ain't hit Ohio yet. So we're gonna bounce around. We're gonna hit a touch on a few more. We're gonna get right into a few things, okay?
All right, y'all. As far as like finishing the bill, we'll do that probably later on, or if not tomorrow. But I'm definitely gonna open the panel. I gotta get out real quick and take care of some things. But yeah, let's stay involved and stay in tune, man. I did drop a video earlier pertaining to the herbs and stuff. So if y'all interested in that, check that out. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, I appreciate everybody for coming through, man. Like I say, I'm gonna go live later on. I'm gonna open up the panel so we can discuss some stuff that was already being discussed, and probably just play the rest of APs and a little bit, maybe more of it. But other than that, man, we just want to build, man. It's springtime officially. You know what I'm saying? It's time to regenerate. Let's get back outside. Let's really make the change that need to be made as far as, bringing awareness to who we really are, man. It ain't got to be violent or nothing like that. Hell, it's fun. If anything, it's already established. We just got to get with the people that's already pretty much, in rotation. But salute to everybody, man. I want to appreciate everybody for coming out, man. American Warrior, salute. Anthony Lowe, man. Much honor, man. Peace, salute. Brandon Rogers, you already know, bro. Much honor. Let's get it. That's the guy right there, man. BR, man. Dre Cobbs, man. Salute, man. Salute to the guy. Y'all definitely check out Dre Cobbs' music. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure it's on all platforms as far as music, Spotify and all that. If not, man, get in touch with him, man. And Dre Cobbs be holding it down, man. Let's get it, man. Epic Studies, man. What's happening? E Knots came through. Hey, man, my apologies for missing everybody, man. None of your business. Salute. Hey, man, we out here, man. We out here. Smoke Signal, man. Salute the smoke, man. Hey, if you really want that smoke and you want to get it in and go down, go down to the nitty gritty, man, go holler at Smoke Signal channel, man. I'll be trying to catch up and see what be going on from time to time. But hey, you just better be ready from what I see. Man, salute though, man. Much honor to Smoke Signal, man, holding it down, keeping the people entertained, I guess, you know what I'm saying, for the most part. People be learning, everybody be able to discuss whatever it is they want to discuss, man. And salute to everybody else too, man. AP, you know what I'm saying? Everybody else that's been holding it down, man. You know what I'm saying? The people over there with Top Cats, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Dane, A1 every now and then might do something, man. Like, let's get it, man. Salute the 432, man, as well. Con, I see you. You know what I'm saying? It's on, man. Let's keep it rolling, man. Everybody's still doing their thing in their own way, and that's what matters the most. You know what I'm saying? So, but much honor, y'all. I'm gonna be back later on, man. So Peace out, man. Much love, y'all. Peace.